Hello, this is Pam Didner. Thank you so much for tuning into B2B marketing and more with me. This is a place I want to help you to become a better B2B marketer. I share my experience, templates, and know-how to help you think strategically, do your job better. Hopefully by doing that, you can get promoted faster. For today, what I really want to talk about is think strategically. When I think about the word strategic, I always imagine like a politician or a policymaker in a big think tank, and they are working on this huge initiative to change the climate, to boost the economy, or to increase the employment in the society as a whole. But for strategic thinking in the context of B2B marketing, I want to make it very concrete, and I want to define that you are able to think strategically, that you can carry a very interactive and strategic discussion with your management. Here are 3 very actionable ways that you can do that. Number 1, you need to be able to think from the perspective of why and the what, not how. Okay, let me explain that to you, and I want to derive that from my own personal experience. My background was accounting, finance, and operations. So when somebody tells me to do something, the first intuition that comes to my mind was, you know what, how can I implement that for my management, for my internal stakeholders, and for my customers? I don't usually question in terms of why we have to do it or what are the benefits, but that's not the way to carry a conversation with your senior management. You need to be able to explain what are the benefits for the company and your customers. Explain to them in terms of how you reach to a certain conclusion. Then you dive into how you want to implement it. From time to time, when you present something at that level, there's always 1 or 2 senior staff immediately dive into how, and they start to derail the whole meeting. So you need to kind of pay attention to that, not necessarily answer that how question right away. Try to rally everybody, get everybody on the same page on the why and the what. Then you can answer the question of how. Number 2, be able to communicate the way they understand or how they are measured. And the perfect example for marketing team is social media metrics. How do we report social media metrics? Well, the views, the likes, the retweets, the comments. Can we actually explain the social media's impact, maybe in the context of a customer service? If your customer service team is using social media to drive the conversation and engagement to solve some of the business issues, if they do, can you also talk about it in terms as a part of the social media report out? So you don't just report a portion of it, which is your job. You need to do a little bit more than that. You need to elevate. And that does take a lot of time to actually get the information. I get it. At the same time, this can be part of the customer services. Try to make your management think holistically and try to show them that you are not thinking the social media only on one aspect of it. So of course, when you do that kind of report out, you gather some other people's input and dashboard. You need to give them credit. Number 3, help senior management connect the dots. A lot of time, explaining digital marketing is hard. You know how hard it is because there is a different intricacy of different marketing technologies that's working together. And there's a front end of the digital marketing, there's a back end, there's multiple things that has to tie together. It's a lot of work to explain how digital marketing actually works. When I try to explain that to the management, multiple times I was like, oh my God, you know what? If I explain the way it is, there's no way they can understand. I'm going to put them to sleep. So I usually use a different analogy. I would use like a sales analogy and to explain what I do. And the great example is email nurturing. And multiple senior management just couldn't understand why the email nurturing takes so long to actually get started. Obviously, we have to understand the segmentation of the audience, we have to source the content, we have to do some A/B testing before we do official launch. It does take a little bit of time, right? And also we need to make sure the database is clean. The way I try to explain it is like, okay, look at on the sales side, we actually have a big meetings coming up with our key strategic account. Say account ABC. And how long does it take to actually put that meeting together so that two CEOs can meet? Probably 3 weeks. We have to position, we have to strategize, we have to create a presentation, and then we have to give our CEOs the talking points, It does take a little bit of time to put the meetings like that together. And I said, you know what? That same kind of work applies on the digital marketing. We have to actually think it through in terms of what our audience want to see. We have to source the content. We have to position it right. It does take time and effort to do it right. Also on the email nurturing string. It's no different than the sales team prepare for the big meeting. So when I explained it that way, they were like, okay, I kind of get it. By the way, they usually don't remember the next day. And I have to repeat that at the next meeting. It does happen. That's the way it is, right? And the education does take a little bit of time. And digital marketing really doesn't come naturally to them. And I understand. So that repetitive education is very critical. So here we are. I'm sharing with you the 3 ways that can demonstrate your capability or your ability to think strategically in the context of B2B marketing. Number 1. Think from the perspective of why and the what, not how. Number 2, explain the things or communicate with your senior management the way they understand or how they be measured. Number 3, help your senior managers connect the dots. So that's it for today. I hope you like the content. If you think the content is relevant and useful, please subscribe below. If you have any specific comments, share that with me as well, or send me a quick email if you have any questions. I love to hear from you. Thank you so much for tuning in to B2B Marketing and More with Pam Didner. I will see you next week.